The dear Queen had finally gone to her reward, and King Edward VII was enjoying himself immensely as he reigned over the empire upon which the sun never set. Kaiser Wilhelm II in Germany was building battleships and making indiscreet remarks, and in the United States, President Theodore Roosevelt was making indiscreet remarks and building battleships. The year was 1903, and before its end, the Wright brothers' first airplane was to stagger briefly into the air. And in his city of St. Petersburg, in the realm of the Tsar of all the Russias, a journal whose name can be translated as Scientific Review published an article which attracted no attention whatsoever from anybody. Its impressive but not very informative title was Exploration of Space with Reactive Devices, and its author was one Konstantin Eduardovich Tsiolkovsky, an obscure schoolteacher in the equally obscure town of Borovsk in Kaluga province. The substance of the article can be summarized in 5 simple statements. 1. Space travel is possible. 2. This can be accomplished by means of, and only by means of, rocket propulsion, since a rocket is the only known propulsive device which will work in empty space. 3. Gunpowder rockets cannot be used, since gunpowder, or smokeless powder either for that matter, simply does not have enough energy to do the job. 4. Certain liquids do possess the necessary energy. 5. Liquid hydrogen would be a good fuel and liquid oxygen a good oxidizer, and the pair would make a nearly ideal propellant combination. The first 4 of these statements might have been expected to raise a few eyebrows if anybody had been listening, but nobody was, and they were received with a deafening silence. The 5th statement was of another sort entirely, and a few years earlier would have been not merely surprising, but utterly meaningless. For liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen were new things in the world. Starting with Michael Faraday in 1823, scientists all over Europe had been trying to convert the various common gases to liquids, cooling them, compressing them, and combining the 2 processes. Chlorine was the first to succumb, followed by ammonia, carbon dioxide, and many others. And by the 70s, only a few recalcitrants still stubbornly resisted liquefaction. These included oxygen, hydrogen, and nitrogen. Fluorine had not yet been isolated, and the rare gases hadn't even been discovered. And the holdouts were pessimistically called the permanent gases. Until 1883. In April of that year, Z.F. Wróblewski of the University of Krakow in Austrian Poland announced to the French Academy that he and his colleague K.S. Olszewski had succeeded in their efforts to liquefy oxygen. Liquid nitrogen came a few days later, and liquid air within 2 years. By 1891, liquid oxygen was available in experimental quantities, and by 1895, Linda had developed a practical large-scale process for making liquid air, from which liquid oxygen and liquid nitrogen could be obtained simply by fractional distillation. James Dewar, later Sir James and the inventor of the Dewar flask and hence of the thermos bottle, of the Royal Institute in London, in 1897 liquefied fluorine, which had been isolated by Moissan only 11 years before, and reported that the density of the liquid was 1.108. This wildly and inexplicably erroneous value, the actual density is 1.50, was duly embalmed in the literature, and remained there unquestioned for almost 60 years, to the confusion of practically everybody. The last major holdout, hydrogen, finally succumbed to his efforts, and was liquefied in May of 1898. And, as he triumphantly reported, on the 13th of June, 1901, 5 liters of it, liquid hydrogen, were successfully conveyed through the streets of London from the laboratory of the Royal Institution to the chambers of the Royal Society. And only then could Tsiolkovsky write of space travel in a rocket propelled by liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen. Without Wróblewski and Dewar, Tsiolkovsky would have had nothing to talk about.